In the heart of the Blackwoods, where sunlight barely pierces the canopy and every sound is swallowed by the trees, stands a forgotten cabin. It isn't marked on any map, nor whispered about by locals. It simply waits, hidden in the shadows. For some, it's a haven, offering shelter from the cold, but those who find it rarely leave the same, or leave at all. The cabin has a way of keeping you. The Blackwoods felt endless, an ancient, untamed wilderness that exuded an eerie stillness. Trees rose like cathedral spires, their branches tangling overhead to form a suffocating canopy. The forest floor was carpeted with moss, its dampness soaking through boots, and the air smelled of wet earth and decay. As the couple wandered deeper, exhaustion set in. Just when it felt as though the woods might swallow them whole, they saw it. The cabin looked out of place, a relic of another time. Its wooden planks, warped and weathered, leaned precariously as though the structure might collapse at any moment. The windows, though intact, were cloudy with grime, and the door hung slightly ajar, creaking faintly in the breeze. Inside, the air was cold and stale, carrying a faint, unplaceable scent, something between burnt wood and something more sinister. The fireplace, miraculously functional, lit up the dim interior with an inviting glow. Dust blanketed the floor and furniture, and cobwebs danced in the corners. For a moment, the couple felt relief. Shelter, at last. A place to rest, but unease lingered in the air like a silent presence, watching from the shadows. At first, the cabin seemed a blessing. The fire warmed their cold, aching bodies, and the silence of the forest offered respite from their harrowing journey. But as the night deepened, that silence became oppressive. It felt alive, pressing against them, filling the room like a third occupant. Even the wind outside seemed to have died, as though the forest itself was holding its breath. The first knock came as the clock struck midnight, soft, almost polite. It echoed faintly through the stillness, a sound so subtle it could have been mistaken for the creak of the old wood. The couple exchanged nervous glances. When the man opened the door, there was nothing there, just the dark, gaping maw of the forest beyond. The next night, it happened again. Same time, same faint knock. This time, it was slower, deliberate, as if whoever or whatever was out there wanted to be heard. Once again, no one stood beyond the threshold. The couple chalked it up to their imaginations, but deep down, they both felt it. Something was watching them. By the third night, the knocks were louder, persistent. When the couple braved the cold and ventured outside with flashlights, the snow revealed no tracks, no signs of life. Only then did they notice the strange carvings on the cabin's walls, intricate patterns that seemed both ancient and intentional. They hadn't seen them before, or had they just chosen not to look closely enough? Desperation led them to search the cabin for answers. Beneath a loose floorboard they found it, a worn, leather-bound diary. The writing was erratic, the ink smudged in places, as though the author had written in a frenzy. "They come at night," one entry read, "always at midnight. They knock to remind me that I am theirs. This cabin is alive. It feeds on those who stay too long." The final entry was barely legible, but the words chilled them to the bone. "I should have run when I still could." The knocking wasn't random. As the couple listened, they noticed it followed a pattern. Frantically, they scribbled it down, realizing it was Morse code. With trembling hands, they decoded the message. It was simple and terrifying. Leave now. But when they grabbed their belongings intending to flee, the knocking grew louder, echoing through the walls. The door wouldn't budge. The windows were sealed as though welded shut by invisible hands. It was too late. The cabin had no intention of letting them go. As the couple scrambled to escape, the cabin began to change. The walls pulsed as though breathing, and the carvings glowed faintly, their patterns shifting before their eyes. The fireplace roared to life, its flames unnaturally tall and twisting into shapes that resembled clawed hands. The knocking was everywhere now, on the walls, the ceiling, even beneath the floorboards. The sound was deafening, drowning out their panicked cries. They could feel the cabin closing in, as though the very wood was alive and hungry. Suddenly, they understood the truth. The cabin wasn't a place of shelter. It was a predator, luring in weary travelers with the promise of warmth and safety. The knocking wasn't a warning. It was bait, a signal to draw them deeper into its grasp. Summoning every ounce of strength, they forced the back door open. The wood groaned in protest, splintering as they burst into the icy forest. They didn't stop running, branches clawing at their faces, their lungs burning with each breath. Behind them, the knocking faded into the distance, or so they thought. Days later, safe in their own home, they tried to move on. But the first night back, as they lay in bed, it returned, faint, polite, a soft knock on the walls of their bedroom. It didn't matter how far they ran. The cabin had claimed them, and it was never letting go. What would you do if you stumbled upon a cabin in the middle of nowhere? Would you trust it, or would you keep walking? Could you resist the promise of warmth and safety, even if something didn't feel quite right? Let us know in the comments below. If this story kept you on edge, don't forget to hit the subscribe button for more tales that will keep you questioning the shadows around you.